Well, we're back in the van for the night, apparently, unless somebody comes through in the next, hour or so. We got a little bit for some food, but as far as hotel, yeah, we're still waiting on that. So anybody wants to step up, be my guest. Excuse me. Something was mentioned in the comments on the last video. Someone, a nitwit over on Reddit, is putting forth the notion that because the original series doesn't really fit anymore, it should be considered non-canon. I'd bang my head on the table, but I don't want to spill my hot chocolate right now. What the hell?
That's the whole.
That's like, I mean, it's like,
That's like
figuring, the trunk of the tree doesn't match the branches. Let's cut down the trunk. The branches all die too, okay? And I mean, more close. The whole concept of a literary canon really comes from, in modern, more recent time, from the Sherlock Holmes stuff. I think from Arthur Conan Doyle himself, because that's pretty much one of the more original instances of a real hardcore dedicated fan base, who apparently also were doing their own Sherlock Holmes stories. I think other people trying to do Sherlock Holmes stories, but Doyle coming out and with the thing of this is the official canon. These are the official Sherlock Holmes stories. The rest of them are, forget it, they don't count. I think that's where that concept comes from, man. So imagine in this age of where you have Elementary and Sherlock and the later Basil Rathbone movies where he's in World War II, just declaring those old Victorian stories, let's just boot them out of the canon. They don't fit anymore. Do you imagine the hue and cry that come up from the Baker Street Irregulars? Of which Nick Meyer's a member, by the way. That's why we're keeping him on, because he may not be that much of a Star Trek, but he knows some fanatical fan bases and a property that has a dedicated canon. And that's the Sherlock Holmes stories. But it's just idiotic. You can't decanonize the source material of the whole damn thing. Plus, it's like, well, let's see. That means, so Next Gen and DS9 and Enterprise and all that, their canon, guess what? They refer back to the original series. And not just references the throwaway thing line. No, they actually, show you. And they reinforce, yeah, that's what it looked like. When Scotty opens up on the bridge, for the Enterprise, no bloody A, B, C, or D. That's not just a recreation. They open up, and that's a screen grab, a little bit of loop footage from this side of Paradise. They had to recreate a little section of it for him to interact with, but the rest of that's actual footage, guys. And when when DS9 did Trials and Tribulations, they have them intermixing with the actual footage from the original episode. Everything has to match. And then, of course, in A Mirror Darkly, where they rebuilt the entire sets. And they had the same uniforms, and they even had the ship-specific insignia. And they rebuilt the models and everything. And, well, it's CGI in that case, but even Trials and Tribulations, they did it as close as they could under the time pressures to do an exact recreation of the original model. They actually looked at the original model of the Smithsonian as a possibility, and then it was pretty clear that the shape it was not ready for prime time anymore. Now it could be. Now they've restored the thing, yeah, they could put that back in the cameras tomorrow. But, no. Sorry. It wouldn't work in theory. It wouldn't work in practice. Because, yeah, so you knock out those 79 episodes, and I guess for good measure, the animators. Guess what? The originals, the Next Gen, DS9, Voyager, Enterprise, they all refer back to those original episodes. And in fact, DS9 and Enterprise have some rather blatant animated references too. So there's no getting rid of the original series, guys. Oh, and Voyager takes you back to the movies. So there you go. But this is the state of Star Trek fandom here. That you can actually have somebody put out and get a lively discussion going about just booting out the original series. And how do you call yourself a Star Trek fan if you can even put that thought into word? You really gotta wonder. This is what, yes, Star Trek fans have always argued, but this is seriously a fractured fan base now. Thank you, JJ and Alex and the rest of your idiots for doing this. Because the previous squabbles about next gen one, they were just, you know, there are wobbles about, you know, about what it looks like, but eventually most of them came around. There's still a few outliers, but for the most part, all of them came around because it all fits into one big thing. You're talking parts now that do not fit and don't even try to fit, and in some cases are contractually prohibited from fitting. And because of this little stunt, now you're threatening the stability of the entire franchise now, I think. To the point where you get some idiots actually say, well, we just toss out the original series. I think, you know, as long as they're Star Trek fans, I'll have stuff to talk about. You know, between them, as you get past the material, they're still the fans, and the idiot things we do sometimes to generate material. So, whoops. And like I said, we're back in the van tonight, single digits. Now we got plenty of blankets and everything else, so I think it'll just be pain in the ass cold for us in there. But still, I'd rather avoid the pain in the ass. And somebody could throw some money in between now and for too long, it'd be appreciated. So PayPal, Patreon down below, and I might even include a link to that Reddit discussion earlier to get there. But I didn't even give that guy the time of day on this thing. It's like, how dare you? Okay, really? It's like, you know, I mean, the early days there was a group of fans who were just Spockies. They weren't Trekkies. They loved Spock, but they couldn't care less about the rest of the show. Go figure. I think they're mostly bygone, you know, the early days. But, you know, now we're back to the whole thing. It's like, yeah, I like Star Trek, but I can't stand the original series. Then you don't like Star Trek, do you? Because that is Star Trek. It's the name of the damn show. It's where all the rest of it all comes from, you know. And no wonder why some of us get a little, you know, under the collar when it comes to these JJ fans and these other these guys that Discovery can do no wrong. It's like they've done everything wrong, frankly. Like I said, you just declare it a reboot and it's its own rules, its own thing. Fine, that would cut off half the arguments right there. But he's trying to force it on the rest of us by making it, oh, it's Prime. No, it's not. You're fooling yourself and you're trying to fool us and it ain't working. But you know. But with his Netwitch trying going full now, let's just, you know, throw out the original series because it fits everything else. Not really. Because you're going to run up against those instances where they reference the original series, and guess what? Don't fit. And frankly, even the whole concept of a big, massive Klingon war with decimated the, you know, destroyed the Starfleet and decimated the Federation territory, and suddenly, you know, then you're back to happy-go-lucky nothing. And I think there's references even like DS9's got a thing about, you know, even. Martok saying, even our people never dared attack Earth. And sorry, but when you have a fleet right on there, they are daring to attack Earth. Which kind of goes on, I think these are not Klingons. I don't know what the hell call themselves, but they're going to have to just hit the reset button and just, you know, declare a do-over. Because they've gone too far down the rabbit hole for any of this to reconcile with anything. We're going beyond just ships and uniforms now. We're talking timeline events and everything else. Like, forget it. There's no way you can reconcile this with the situation we're looking at where No Man's gone before. Forget it. Okay? It just doesn't work. PayPal, Patreon down below. Talk to you later.